It's my honor to introduce Sheila White today. In 1999, Sheila challenged her employer, Burlington Northern in Santa Fe, by filing charges of discrimination, sexual harassment, and retaliation in the workplace. Ultimately, her case went to the Supreme Court, where there was a unanimous decision in her favor. Her case has had far-reaching benefits for employees seeking fair treatment under labor laws and set the precedent for a broad reading of adverse action. On a personal note, her case set the precedent that let my case go to a jury. So we have whistleblowers laying down for the whistleblowers that follow them. Sheila?
Greetings to the panel and friends. It's an honor to be here with my extended family, the whistleblowers. All aboard, back down memory lane. You don't need a ticket, just get on board. All the ones in the back, hop on the caboose. Let's ride. My name is Sheila White. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I would like to share my story and work experience working on the railroad in Memphis, Tennessee. You will hear through my story why I brought charges against my former employer. One thing I have learned about working in a man's world, I was one sister they could not stop. I was bold, I had pride, I had dignity and strength and courage to tackle anything that came my way. Ladies and gentlemen, through my fight and struggle against the giant Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad in Memphis, Tennessee, in June 1997, I was hired as a forklift operator. My job was to unload semi-tractor trailers and deliver supplies and equipment to different departments. And you know the railroad is pretty large. Also, I was hired with 5 men, and I was the only female that was hired that day. Also, from the very first day, there were, again, 5 men, and I was the only woman hired in the maintenance away department. My foreman introduced himself to us, and in return, we introduced ourselves to him. He said out loud in the group, "Hey, Sheila, when you come on your cycle, let me know so I can make your job lighter." That was the very first day and my first impression. The men's mouths flew open, and I was in shock. I asked myself, what kind of man is this when he just learned my name? That caused me to start taking notes. I was told every day I needed to find another job because the railroad wasn't a place for a woman. In return, I told him I had to make a living just like him. I had 2 away in college and 1 to graduate from high school. My foreman harassed me every day from asking me to find another job and how I feel about black and whites going to bed, asking me to shine a flashlight on him to relieve himself at a train derailment at 2 a.m. in the morning. The men standing there turned their backs and walked away because they knew that was a no-no. There were men complaining about me operating a forklift when they had more seniority than I did because I was new. One thing was missing. I had license and they didn't to operate the forklift. Someone was tampering with the brakes so I could lose control. I would come in every morning and oil was poured all over my seat. I was on probation for 90 days and filed my very first charge with EEOC, sexual harassment. The company investigated and called my foreman and I in the office in different rooms at the end of the day. As I walked down the hall, all eyes were on me. I was informed that my foreman was guilty and he was given 10-day suspension in order to take a sexual harassment class. Also, I was told I would no longer operate the forklift. My job would be working on the tracks and travel. I told the superintendent that wasn't right or fair for taking my job from me, but it wasn't over. The company retaliated against me for filing my first charge with EEOC. I left and went straight to EEOC again to file my second and third charge. That was retaliation and discrimination. The very same day to protect my human and civil rights. They did not know that they were dealing with a fighter. The company was removing my department and my roadmaster informed me, Sheila, there would not be a latest restroom built. He told me that he could order me a porta potty, whatever color I wanted, pink, purple, or polka dot of my choice. He said this in a safety meeting, and some of the men frowned and disgusted, and many laughed. So some passed notes to me under the table asking me to chill. Because when we have safety meetings once a month, we can go home early. That just didn't sit well with me. I spoke out in a pleasant tone and said to my roadmaster, Roadmaster, those parties you were speaking about, I would just wait for Miss Kelly to visit and ask her what color she would like to have. From that day on, he did not say another word to me. He sent all of us back to work. Some were mad, some could not believe I was bold and had courage to speak out. I was just fed up. I only had 5 co-workers I trusted in. They would keep me filled in on the plots against me. We didn't hang together or socialize. We were just co-workers working when no one ever knew we were communicating from work. The company sent me out of town to work for the purpose of someone else to fire me, and that didn't work. I worked from Arkansas, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi, to the Alabama lines. My job wasn't easy, and they made it harder each day, but I didn't give up. No one wanted to help me or work around me. I was under surveillance at all times. The 5 I trusted were very afraid and upset about how I was being treated, but they also were afraid to speak out. I was denied a raincoat in the rainstorm, but they didn't know ladies pack their bags well. I was denied up and down the road in small towns that they did not have a facility for my kind. Also, my coworkers were glad I wasn't afraid to fight. Again, roadmaster, foreman, and they didn't care about me working with them, so my name was called as Gal, and I corrected that. I told them that if they couldn't call me by my name, I would just raise my hand. Yes, I had a union, and they supported me for being brave to work in that kind of environment. And they supported me 100%. They supported me at my trial also. I always went by the company book of rules that they wrote. Whenever the union came to town that represent me on my behalf, they would look at me and say, Sheila, what have you done now? The company would write me up every month on made-up charges, and I would protest and use empowerment on their own book of rules they wrote. I won all of my grievances each time. I carried a red pen at all times just in case I had to sign something like, I protest, above my name. I had been fired so many times I went out on sick leave. I did not give them the pressure to fire me again. I had enough where they had no more control over me anymore. I asked for a company leave, and they said, for what? Anyway, I went out on medical leave. I was protected by EEOC, my union, my medical doctor. My doctor informed the company I was on an indefinite leave. The company asked me to report to work by a certified letter. They didn't know I had finished my course, and they didn't have any idea that that was for me. I didn't quit. I drew all my benefits I was entitled to. I didn't leave them a thing behind but memories. Who I was and what I was, a woman, the railroader. I went on medical leave October the 22nd and resigned 2005. I fought long and hard for 9 years. On June the 22nd, 2006, that's when the bells and whistles came to a halt. Nationwide breaking news in the workplace for everybody. Sheila White won in the United States Supreme Court 9-0. This is a landmark case. My case is used. Thank you. My case is used every day in courts, classrooms, workshops, and law schools. Laws has been revived and brought across this nation, inside and outside the workplace, on sexual harassment, retaliation, and discrimination in the workplace. I shook the foundations in the workplace across this nation, and I still have a lot of work to do. I have caused the greatest train wreck in history. When many said I couldn't beat a giant. I can say I shattered and claimed a piece of the glass ceiling. I'm an author of the book, Fighting the Giant. I will say, Burlington Northern Railway had me swaying and leaning and walking a tightrope. But the blessing part out of all of this humiliation, discrimination, retaliation, and sexual harassment, I didn't fall. There shall not be any form of harassment, retaliation, discrimination, not now and never in the workplace. We must stand strong and firm for our human and civil rights, pride, and dignity. Documentation is your best friend. Practice it. I preach what I teach for all. I am a true believer in whistleblower protection laws. And I'm a fighter for the ones who are afraid to speak out for themselves. Thank you for listening. All right.